is a Hardin County native. He is going to run one of the two of those battery manufacturing facilities. He has been with Ford and traveled all across the United States, and he's getting to move back to Kentucky, to E-Town, with his family, where he will be the manager of Blue Oval SK Kentucky Plant number 2. It's pretty amazing to see a homecoming, and that homecoming is part of, again, the biggest battery plant on planet Earth. So I want to thank everybody who helped make this happen. That's Ryan right there. And as I told Bill Ford a couple of years ago, you pick us, we will not let you down. This project is on schedule. Next, we have some good news from the Federal Land and Water Conservation Fund. This is a program that includes that improves parks all across the Commonwealth. All Kentuckians deserve to make good memories with their families, and a well-maintained park where families can get fresh air, kids can play, you can get some exercise, or just enjoy a beautiful day adds to the quality of life here in Kentucky. It promotes overall health and wellness, and it provides communities with a place to gather. Today, I'm announcing my selection of 37 projects that will be sent for final approval to the National Park Service for funding. We have some guests here with us today, and I'm going to highlight a few of these projects. Let's start with the City of Frankfort. Frankfort plans to use $150,000 to make improvements to the East Frankfort Park. The city will replace an old volleyball court with a basketball court. They're going to add tennis courts and pickleball courts, which will make our mayor here very popular, along with new fencing and sidewalks. We have a picture of the space that's going to be turned into a basketball court. And today we're joined by Mayor Wilkerson. And do we have some of your commissioners here too? If you all come on up and join us. We know this is going to be approved, so we want to present you with this check for $150,000 and then let you brag on your park. Come on in. This is my mayor and all of our commissioners.
We have Sean Pickens, Director of Parks.
And Sean. All right. Mayor, you want to say a word? Ooh, sorry. Here we go.
Drop that
Here,
check.
you can take the money and run.
Don't let me handle the check. No, thank you to Governor Beshear and Team Kentucky for seeing the merit in this project and for putting it forward with the National Park Service. The City of Frankfort Board of Commissioners adopted a Parks Master Plan recently, and we're prioritizing connectivity by eliminating social and economic barriers to our parks, and we want to provide vibrant public spaces and promote the overall physical and mental health of our residents. This award is going to help us realize these goals. East Frankfort Park is one of Frankfort's oldest parks. It's over 46 acres, and it serves thousands of homes in the general vicinity. And besides the pickleball courts, which are going to be very popular for our residents, it's going to enable us to improve the lighting, sidewalks, and the accessibility to the park. And it's going to help us create a space where people want to be. And today we're investing in the city of Frankfort's future. We're cultivating pride in our shared capital city. And I want to thank the governor again for believing in this project and believing in the capital city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
You.
Thank you all. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Next, let's look at Anderson County. They're planning on using almost $130,000 to improve Anderson Community Park. They plan to build tennis and pickleball courts as well as a parking lot. This is already a great place for families to gather, and it's just going to make it better. Today, we have Judge Gritton joining us. If you would, please. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. You want to say a word about the park?
Absolutely. Thank you. So our park supervisor, his name is Mark Bryan, approached me several years ago about putting in pickleball courts. Now, unlike most of you, I was unaware that there was such a thing as pickleball. The residents of the county soon made us all aware as they came to a fiscal court meeting, and so we started looking into how we can go about doing this. This is not available to Anderson County without this grant and without your approval, Governor. We certainly thank you for that. And I'll echo what the mayor said just a moment ago. This is upgrading our facilities, get all of our people interconnected, gives us an opportunity to look forward. As the governor said earlier, we're using a brain game. So we're gaining on this now because we're going to have pickleball and tennis courts that'll now be open to our public that currently we do not have. So on behalf of Anderson County, Governor, once again, we thank you sincerely
Thank you.
for this award.
So today we've got Winnie walking around. So I'll spoil a surprise. Today is Winnie's birthday. Winnie is 4 years old today, and she's walking around like she owns the place. I want to highlight one more project. This is one in Woodford County. The Huntertown Community Interpretive Park will hopefully be seeing some improvements real soon. Woodford County is planning to build a new picnic pavilion at the park. It'll include restroom, picnic tables, and a grill station. A gravel parking lot and a sidewalk will provide access to the facility. So today we have $125,000 to help Woodford County Judge Executive James Kay make it happen. You're very welcome. Yeah. All right. You want to talk about the park?
Yes, please,
Yes.
Governor. So first of all, thank you, Governor, and happy birthday, Winnie, a true public service dog. So this park, Huntertown Community Interpretive Park, is an important historical park in Woodford County that highlights a African-American community and hamlet that we have uncovered, that we are revitalizing. I'd like to thank folks like Sue Finney, Brenda Jackson, Magistrate Larry Blackford, as well as Eveline and Donald Morton, who have put their lives into uncovering this history and revitalizing this park for our entire community to enjoy. But we couldn't do it without these funds. It's really, really important, and it'll be a central community space that all of Woodford County and Central Kentucky can share. And there's a lot of rich history that we will be able to share with Kentucky and the nation. So thank you so much, Governor. And for all those who put their heart and soul into this park, it's going to make a big deal for our community. Thank you.
That's for you. Oop. I always knew I'd get taken out by a giant check. The full list of projects will be released today. Each will have to undergo a final review, but we are confident that each will move forward. In total, $3.9 million will come in these funds to improve quality of life all over Kentucky. Next, we have our First Lady, who is here with us today to talk about how we can work together to raise awareness in our fight against human trafficking. We have made it a priority these last few years to build a safer Kentucky for everyone. During my time as Attorney General, we established the Office of Child Abuse and Human Trafficking Prevention and Prosecution. We formed our state's first Human Trafficking Task Force. We arrested a record number of child predators, and we trained thousands of Kentuckians on recognizing, reporting, and preventing abuse. And just as important, we created a Survivors Council where we could listen to advice firsthand from those that had undergone this trauma or others, to where we could try to be a victim-centered office, trying to make sure that we always recognize that while that perpetrator has to be brought to justice, the victim is always the most important person to provide those services and healing and ultimately secure justice. I'm now proud to support Brittany as she makes it a priority as First Lady and as a member of the National Coalition for the Prevention of Human Sex Trafficking to fight this horrific crime and keep Kentuckians safer. Brittany?
Good afternoon. As we look towards a week full of a lot of fun events leading up to the Kentucky Derby, we can't help but get excited for this special time and all the joy it brings. Thousands of people from all over the country and across the world will travel here to Kentucky to take part in this historic tradition. We welcome them and are proud to show them how incredible Kentuckians are. But as a mom, as First Lady, and as a member of the National Coalition for the Prevention of Human Sex Trafficking, it is my duty to remind everyone to recognize the signs of human trafficking, which can occur more often around large events like the Kentucky Derby. So I'm happy to introduce, oh wait, not yet. I'm not happy to introduce anyone just yet. I want everyone to know that human trafficking is a terrible crime, and it is unfortunately a crime that no community is immune to at any time of the year. The National Human Trafficking Hotline website, which is on the screen, there it is the place to turn to if you suspect any type of trafficking, labor, or sex trafficking. As the U.S. anti-trafficking movement has grown in our understanding of this diverse and complex crime, we are learning more about how specific people, such as medical professionals, teachers, truck drivers, and restaurant personnel, in addition to friends and family members, can identify and report possible trafficking. Everyone can help by learning the types of trafficking and paying attention to the people around us. To get help or report trafficking, the National Hotline offers 24/7 confidential help by calling 1-888-373-7888. You can text 233-733. There's also a chat feature on the website. However, as always, if you believe that someone is in imminent danger, please call 911. I also think that as our understanding of human trafficking evolves, it is important to understand that there is not one size fits all for this type of crime against human beings. And so there's not one specific thing you can look for. If something looks wrong, it's important to say something. I am honored to continue the work that Andy and his team led in the Attorney General's office to help prevent trafficking and educate more Kentuckians on how to protect themselves and their loved ones. While it's important to raise awareness around human trafficking and how to prevent and report it, it is also important for us to support our local prevention groups, who really are our first and best line of defense when it comes to human trafficking. So I am now happy to introduce two guests today, Amy Leenertz with Free to Hope and Amy Nace-DeGonda with Catholic Charities of Louisville. These two have both worked in the human trafficking prevention space for a long time, and today they will share their stories and some advice for us to practice during Derby and year-round.
Why not? I was going to say, don't leave me, yeah, don't leave me alone with that. Do you want to start? Or no? Okay, let's see. I'm sorry, I have to write down what I say because I'll automatically forget it. My name is Amy Leenertz. I'm the founder and executive director of an organization called Free to Hope in Louisville, Kentucky. Our mission is to take proactive approaches, like the governor's wife has talked about, to prevent and disrupt human trafficking against women and children through the use of education, exposure, equipping the community, and enabling a safe place for victims. We operate a drop-in center in Louisville, Kentucky, where victims can come and we help them with services or send them for other services, within the community as well. So what can everybody do? Because everybody can do something, I could give you a long list of things to look for, but each case is so very different. So you're not going to necessarily know by one thing or the other. What you got to understand is trafficking has evolved so much and it's so large and it's happening every day in our city. Now, city and state. Realize that the Kentucky Derby is going to bring some people in and it's going to bring more trafficking in. So I think it's always a good idea when you see and you think somebody's being exploited in some way, that you call somebody, they call the authorities. Derby time is a lot of fun and we want it to be fun for everybody. And we want to keep our people here in Kentucky safe. And I hope you all will call authorities if you see something odd, call the hotline, just call somebody, please. Thank you.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today. My name is Amy Nace-DeGonda, and I'm the program director at the Paquita Empowerment Initiative at Catholic Charities of Louisville, a very big mouthful. So we are the only statewide program that provides services to both survivors of labor and sex trafficking, male, female, and gender nonconforming of all ages, foreign born and domestic. We have two facets to our program. The one is to provide direct services to survivors. So we come in, we do comprehensive case management, and we connect to the services that they need within their communities to be able to help provide that stability. And resources are so important because not one agency can provide all of the services that somebody needs. And then also we do prevention education throughout the state. So we provide prevention education for the youth in Kentucky. We have 3 different prevention education curriculums that we do. We can do them in schools, we can do them in community centers and residential programs, and then we do a lot of training and awareness. So everybody has said a lot of great things today about what to do for trafficking in the community. What I would really encourage community members to do is to support those programs that are doing the work in the anti-trafficking field. Because we do a lot of things and we need a lot of resources and we need that assistance, right? Because Amy and I, we are people that are trained to be able to respond to trafficking, and we have so many people that we serve that have so many needs. So community members really raising us up and supporting us in different ways. I just I want to say to everyone to just educate yourself on the services that you have in your community and look at the needs that they have. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you to Catholic Charities for all the work that you do. When we would make an arrest in the Attorney General's office, we would immediately take the victim involved to Catholic Charities for their incredible services, and to Free to Hope, which we've now had the blessing to work with for about 7+ years. Amy was on our original Survivors Council, and she is a warrior in this field to protect our Kentuckians and Americans that are out there. So today, let's move to some good news on the 988 hotline and how effective the implementation has been and how it's helping people. I'm thrilled to report that 988, the 3-digit suicide and mental health crisis lifeline, continues to make great strides. Last July, when Kentucky took part in the national changeover to 988, we anticipated that there would be an increase in calls, partly due to the easy to remember number and text capabilities, but that's what we wanted. We got a lot of people out there that are suffering, and we wanted to make it as easy as possible to contact. Since launching 988, Kentucky-based calls have increased by 23%, and we have seen a 15% drop in abandoned calls. More people are calling, more people are staying on and talking to someone that can help. This means Kentuckians facing a risk of suicide, mental health distress, or an addiction crisis are getting connected with compassionate, trained counselors more often and faster than ever before. National data from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration shows the average speed across the country in which calls are answered are 35 seconds. Here in Kentucky, we're doing better than that. We are averaging 25 seconds. That is incredible. It shows that 988 is working and has been a great improvement. I want to thank all of our partners and mental health advocates across the state and beyond who have worked so hard to make this possible. This administration will always support Kentuckians as they seek health care. We believe that mental health is just as important as physical health, and this is helping us to be able to intervene and ensure we don't lose people and that they're still there for that next holiday with their family. So, as you might know, 2023 is an election year here in Kentucky. While the general election won't take place until November, voters will go to the polls next month to cast ballots in party primaries. The primary itself will take place on Tuesday, May 16th from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. local time. So remember, those in our west, in the central time zone, those polling locations close an hour later. But they open an hour later, too, than the ones in the Eastern time zone. Now, we've already passed the deadline to register to vote in a primary election, but there are a few other important dates I want to highlight. First, next Tuesday, that's May 2nd, is the last day to request a mail-in absentee ballot using the online portal at govoteky.com. That portal will close at 11:59 p.m. on Tuesday night, which is 2 weeks before the election. So if you know you won't be able to vote in person on May 16th, get online and request a mail-in absentee ballot. Then 1 week before the election, Tuesday, May 9th, is the last day for those in uniform to apply for a military overseas ballot. Applications, which include the declaration accompanying a federal write-in absentee ballot, must be received by the end of the day. Tuesday, May 9th is also the last day for any voter who has received an absentee ballot, but who knows they will be in their county on election day to cancel the absentee ballot and return it to the county clerk. Voters in this situation then show up and vote in person. And now we get to the early voting period. From Thursday, May 11th to Saturday, May 13th, Kentucky voters can take advantage of in-person, no excuse voting at their local county clerk's office or other designated area. You'll need to check with your county clerk's office for places and times, or you can go visit govoteky.com. All right, yesterday, I was proud to join Mayfield Mayor Kathy Onan and Hopkins County Judge Executive Jack Whitfield and Jackson Mayor Laura Thomas to announce how we're taking another step forward in our recovery from the tornadoes in December 2021 and the floods of 2021. We knew the recovery process would take years, but we made promises to the East and the West that we would be there every day, every month, and every year until we get the job done. Many of those who were impacted by tornadoes and floods of 2021 lost their homes and everything they owned. In the wake of those tragedies, the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, announced $123 million will be coming to Kentucky to help us rebuild. It'll help us build about 600 homes, none of which are under construction right now. This is new funding to add to all the amazing work that has already been done. 80% of those funds will go to Graves, Warren, Hopkins, and Breathitt counties. The other 20% go to a wide range of counties. I believe the list I will put up on the screen. On May 1st, we will begin accepting applications for the program for cities, counties, nonprofits, and for-profits and other governmental entities for building back homes, rental properties, and multifamily rental properties. Then on June 1st, applications will be accepted for public infrastructure like roads and bridges, as well as building new homes. I want to note, as of now, there is no deadline. We will use that funding until it runs out. In a couple of weeks, I believe it'll be a couple of weeks, we're going to make an announcement about the application process for those impacted by the 2022 floods in Eastern Kentucky. There is $300 million that will be available there. I believe that if we hit that prediction in 2 weeks, it'll be the fastest that this type of funding has ever been released. And that's important because there's a lot of work to be done in Eastern Kentucky to move people out of the flood zone into high ground communities, safe houses where they don't have to worry about ever going through trauma like they've been through again. Combined, these funds will contribute to work being done by groups like Habitat for Humanity, Homes for Hope, Mayfield Graves Fuller Center for Housing, Fuller Center for Disaster Rebuilding, the HOPE Initiative, Mayfield Graves Long-Term Recovery Group, Foundation for Appalachian Kentucky, Housing Development Alliance, and Homes, Inc. They are already doing amazing work. But this funding, when you look at it all together, what, $400+ million is going to help to rebuild these communities. We know that funding is coming. We're excited about what we're going to be able to do with it. All right, update on Eastern Kentucky flooding. To date, we have 128 households in Eastern Kentucky in 132 travel trailers. That means we have had 13 families transition to more stable, permanent housing. 9 trailers are still on private locations, 123 at the commercial sites. 4 people are sheltering in 1 hotel, 14 people at state parks. FEMA has approved more than $105.3 million in individual assistance grants. That's $335,000 more than the last time we announced. An additional 5 applicants have received the maximum grant of $37,900. So continue to work with your Mark Center and others to continue to pursue your claim. As of this week, we have over $27.4 million in awards approved for the buyout program. This is when you are in a floodplain. FEMA will purchase your property. That will give you the dollars to hopefully find stable housing outside of the floodplain. This $27.4 million is an increase of $5.3 million in just 20 days since the last time we talked about this program. This is the fastest that the buyout program has ever gone, and it's helping a lot of individuals. Homeowners wishing to learn more about the program are encouraged to contact your local judge executive or emergency management office for more information. Bridge update, 38 bridges replaced, 32 bridges repaired. Okay, one other piece from our economic development news that we started with. You'll be seeing some additional releases coming out because more companies were approved. They'll include Dotmer paper in Hancock County. While there are not new jobs in that incentive package, it is going to retain 461 existing jobs in Hancock County. Also, jobs announcements for Allen County, Ohio County, Montgomery County, Bourbon County. So a lot of excitement, new jobs coming all across Kentucky. And for today's Team Kentucky All-Star, it's Winnie's 4th birthday. She's been a great dog for us. She's been a great dog for our kids. This was her in the pandemic celebrating her birthday. She's pretty special. We're a big Winnie and a big dog family. So with that, we will turn to questions. We have 2 journalists that are here with us and 2 on the line and 1 that's been submitted. So we'll start with Tom Latek and then we'll go to Melissa Patrick.
Okay, thank you, Governor. You did a little traveling yourself yesterday out east, and I wonder if you could tell me with the state dinner, when did you find out? How were you selected, and what was it like?
So last night I attended a state dinner for the President of the Republic of Korea. It was a pretty special event for Brittany and I to go to. I'd never been to a state dinner. I believe that we were invited because of the significant investment that SK made in the Blue Oval Battery Park, but they're not the only Korean company that has invested in the Commonwealth. I got to talk to dozens of CEOs from Korea, including the CEO of SK and a number of others that do business in the Commonwealth. While we went to celebrate the state dinner, I do believe we could see some economic development opportunities coming out of it. But I also got to have dinner with my wife in a pretty special place. I think we needed a night and really enjoyed it. Yes, and we flew all the way to Washington, D.C. for a state dinner that Edward Lee cooked for and did an amazing job. We are so proud of him. He's helped this Commonwealth out in so many different ways, and everybody there thought the food was excellent, and I told them that's what every day is like in Kentucky. So, Melissa.
Hi, Governor. I have 2 questions. The first is you've issued some new regulations to put those dental, vision, and hearing benefits back into, expanded, I should say, into the Medicaid program. And I'm curious, the requirement was that they were significantly different. And I'm just, if you can just talk about how these are so different and do you expect any legal challenges from that? And then my second question is, Attorney General Cameron with the Opioid Abatement Committee announced 24 recipients of those grants this morning. And I asked him about he has said that he's brought $900 million into the state for this opioid with settlement money and that you have brought 0. And I guess I would like for you to just comment on that.
Wow. So Melissa told me that this morning when the Attorney General announced the first dollars going out.
I should correct. He did not say that at that event. He had told that to
Okay.
newsmakers. So just.
Well, I'm a little shocked that the Attorney General would say I haven't brought any dollars in opioid settlements. I filed more lawsuits against opioid manufacturers and distributors than any other Attorney General in the country. I think he filed 1. Every single lawsuit he's settling right now, I not only filed, but I argued personally in court, showing up when companies were trying to blame us for the millions of pills that they sent, hundreds of thousands into really small communities. listen, as an attorney, you're always supposed to share credit with other lawyers on the suit, on a lawsuit, or especially the ones who filed it. And if you'll remember, I settled. Actually, Attorney General Conway settled the first opioid lawsuit on his way out of office. I was able to award those funds, but we gave credit all the way back to Greg Stumbo, who filed that. So certainly, first as Attorney General, we did bring in funds to help treatment. Look at Hope in the Mountains in Prestonsburg that was going to close down without those funds that we provided. Now they're Medicaid eligible, but I know I filed those lawsuits. I know I did it so that we could have our best shot of getting out of this epidemic. This is blood money. It needs to be spent the right way to get people better. The second question, dental, vision, and hearing. When the legislators were passing a bill to try to end an expansion that gets people back to work, what this is all about is, if we want somebody to go to work, they've got to be able to see well enough to drive to work. If we want them to be safe on a work site, they need to be able to hear well enough to hear instructions or warnings. And that's why we expanded Medicaid at a time when we have so many jobs. We need to get everybody healthy enough to get into them. This is unquestionably a workforce amplifier, a way that we can fill these jobs out there. And when it was when we did it, we only heard positive feedback, both originally from legislators, but especially from the private sector, who saw this as a bridge to get people off of Medicaid and into private insurance through their employer. When the legislature was passing a bill to I'd say eliminate it, but overrule the regulation. One of the sponsors pretty much said outright, looks like you'll need another regulation. And so we followed that. We'll get you the specifics of how they differ, but this was a process I believe even the sponsors of the bills expected. And certainly CMS, National Medicaid, believes this is a good idea that will help our people. All right, we have Karen Czar on the line.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Governor. Every year around Derby time for years now, even back when you were Attorney General, there's always a push to help sex trafficking victims. Do you know if around Derby time, do you know if that has led to an uptick in people speaking up around that time and any arrests? And also, is someone available still there who could give more specifics of and elaborate more on what people should look for? Thank you.
We'll get Amy Leanertz directly in touch with you from Free to Hope for what people should look for. We all believe, though it is hard to get good data when it comes to trafficking, because you have to ultimately make that arrest. You have to follow the leads that are there. We know that it increases around major sporting events. We know it. We don't know exactly by how much, because there's already so much trafficking that goes on in every community across Kentucky and across the nation. So by talking about it, first of all, we should talk about it year round, but ahead of major sporting events, when we know there will be an increase, it not only hopefully helps us to get people to speak out then, but to gain more knowledge and speak out anytime they see something concerning. As Attorney General, the first trafficking victim we rescued was because a hotel clerk saw something that looked a little bit wrong and made a phone call. That one phone call saved what was then a 15-year-old girl. That's what we're asking people to do. Just be aware of your surroundings. And when it looks wrong, say something. You could be the only thing standing in between horrific crimes being committed over and over and over against people, and safety, and hopefully healing. So to everybody, please make that call when you see something that looks wrong. And finally, Lily Burris next, and then I have one submitted question.
Hello, Governor Beshear. The Kentucky Center for Investigative Reporting recently released a report on debris cleanup in Eastern Kentucky. I was wondering if you had read the report, and if so, what will the state be doing to address the concern Kentuckians are sharing in the report?
Well, I haven't had a chance to read the full report, but listen, folks that were impacted by the flooding, lost everything. It is hard and it is traumatic to have to rebuild, with many of these families having spent decades building what they had that was ultimately swept away by those waters. I think we owe a duty to treat everybody right each and every day, but certainly treat folks right who have gone through this type of trauma. So listen, any concerns that are raised, we're going to want to try to address. There have been over, I think, 900 people involved in cleanup efforts, a number of contractors. Anytime that I hear about something that concerns me or people not being treated right, we want to see what we can do about it. This is the toughest cleanup when you look at the miles of streams and the topography that we are looking at, and the toughest rebuild I think that the United States has ever seen. And while that means there will be challenges, we need to make sure that we're treating each and every person who was impacted well, that we are showing them that we care about them. And if something's gone wrong, we do our best to fix it. All right. Last question is from Lisa Autry. How do I feel about the federal government suing Tennessee over its law banning health care for trans youth? And do we feel that that's a possibility in Kentucky? I have not read the lawsuit in Tennessee. My belief, given that it's the Department of Justice ultimately suing a state that is implementing it, that whatever occurs in that lawsuit or whatever ruling is in that lawsuit would be applicable to Kentucky, though it might not be legally binding immediately. I believe that the topic and the arguments are going to be similar enough to where that's something we ought to be following. Listen, I think that the bill passed by the legislature tears away at the freedom of parents to make difficult medical decisions about their kids. The General Assembly let big government come in and force decisions on families where parents no longer get the opportunity to sit down with their children and make those tough decisions. While they claimed that they were doing something for parents' rights, they were absolutely stripping them away and saying, you as a parent don't get to make those decisions about your own kids. I think that's wrong, and I think parents should have that freedom. It says also, will your administration defend the law in court since the legislature overrode your veto? We don't know if a lawsuit was filed here, who would be sued, but I know that there would be a party that would ultimately defend the lawsuit. That has to happen to ultimately get a decision from the courts. All right, this was a long one again today. Thank you all very much. We'll see you next week.